Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell for new stories. Alex Carter adjusted his backpack and wiped the sweat from his brow. The late afternoon sun filtered through the thick canopy of the forest, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. This was supposed to be a simple hike, a chance to clear his mind and escape the monotony of small-town life. But the further he ventured, the more he felt an inexplicable pull, like the forest itself was guiding him. After hours of trekking, Alex stumbled upon something that didn't belong, an overgrown entrance to a cave. Its jagged mouth was framed by vines and moss, almost hidden from view. What caught Alex's attention, though, were the faint, pulsing lights emanating from within. He hesitated. His heartbeat quickened as curiosity warred with caution. The rumors he'd heard in town, the ones about strange lights and eerie sounds in the forest, came rushing back. "No way this is real," he muttered, gripping the flashlight clipped to his belt. Alex stepped inside, the cool air of the cave chilling his skin. The glowing symbols on the walls were like nothing he'd ever seen, an intricate web of lines and shapes that seemed alive. He reached out to touch one, but the moment his fingers neared it, the symbol flared brightly and faded. "What the?" Alex's voice trailed off as he noticed something else deeper in the cave, a figure lying motionless on a raised stone platform. Cautiously, he approached. It was a woman, or at least, she looked like one. Her skin was an iridescent silver, shifting subtly with hues of blue and green. Her long, flowing hair shimmered like liquid metal, and she wore a form-fitting suit that seemed to merge seamlessly with her body. Strange devices, half organic, half mechanical, were scattered around her. One appeared to be broken, its fragments glowing faintly. "Are you alive?" Alex whispered, kneeling beside her. Her chest rose and fell faintly, and her face, though alien, was serene. There was something ethereal about her, but also deeply vulnerable. Alex didn't know what to do. He checked for obvious injuries and noticed a jagged tear on her arm, where dark, shimmering liquid oozed out. "Is that blood?" He rummaged through his backpack, pulling out a water bottle and a clean cloth. He wasn't sure if his basic first aid knowledge would apply to an alien, but he had to try. As he dabbed at the wound, the woman stirred. Her eyes shot open, large, almond-shaped, and glowing with a soft violet light. Alex froze, his hands hovering mid-air. She sat up abruptly, her movements fluid but clearly disoriented. Her gaze locked onto Alex, and for a moment, neither of them moved. Then, she spoke, a cascade of melodic sounds and clicks that Alex couldn't understand. Hi," Alex said, raising his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "I'm not here to hurt you." The woman tilted her head, studying him. She touched a small device on her wrist, and her language shifted mid-sentence. "Not hostile." "Who are you?" Alex blinked. "You speak English?" The woman frowned, glancing at her wrist. "Translation matrix," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Where am I? What happened to my ship?" "Ship?" Alex repeated, his mind racing. "You mean like, a spaceship?" Her expression hardened. "Who are you? What is this place?" "I'm Alex," he said quickly. "This is Earth. I found you here. You were hurt." She looked at her arm and winced. "The crash," she murmured, more to herself than to him. "My systems, damaged." "The beacon," her eyes widened. "You must leave. It's not safe." "What do you mean, not safe?" Alex asked. The air in the cave suddenly felt heavier, and the glowing symbols on the walls began to pulse erratically. "They're coming," she said, her voice laced with urgency. "You don't understand. If they find you here, they'll—" A low, rumbling sound interrupted her, vibrating through the cave. Alex stumbled back as a beam of light shot down from the ceiling, scanning the room. The alien woman grabbed his arm with surprising strength. We must leave. Now. Alex didn't argue. As the rumbling grew louder, he helped her to her feet and supported her as they hurried toward the cave entrance. Just as they emerged into the forest, a deafening roar split the air, and the ground shook violently. Alex turned to see the cave collapse in on itself, a plume of dust and energy erupting into the sky. What was that? He gasped, his heart pounding. The woman leaned against him, her face pale. A warning, she said grimly. They know I'm here. And now, they know about you too. Alex barely caught his breath before the alien woman tugged on his arm, urging him deeper into the forest. The eerie glow of the cave's collapse still illuminated the darkened woods behind them, but her expression left no room for doubt. They were in immediate danger. What do you mean, they know about me? Alex asked, struggling to keep up. Who's they? Keep moving, she said, her tone clipped. Her violet eyes scanned the dense forest as though expecting something, or someone, to appear. We have little time. If they find us, you won't survive. Great, Alex muttered under his breath. First alien encounter, and I'm already a target. He stumbled over a tree root, but she steadied him with surprising strength. Despite her fragile appearance and obvious injuries, she moved with fluid precision, her senses hyper-alert. Alex couldn't help but feel like he was dragging her down. Wait, Alex said, pulling back. I need answers. Who are you? What was that back there? And why are you running? She hesitated, her glowing eyes narrowing as if weighing how much she could trust him. My name is Kalara, she said finally. I am, or was, a scout. My ship crashed here after I was ambushed by, let's call them hunters. Hunters? Alex repeated, his throat tightening. Like bounty hunters? Kalara nodded grimly. They're not after me. They're after the technology one carry. If they acquire it, your world, and countless others, will be in jeopardy. Alex's mind reeled. Why does it matter to them? Earth isn't exactly the center of the galaxy. Kalara glanced at him, her expression unreadable. Your planet is, less primitive than you think. There are factions across the stars who would exploit your world's resources, and its people. My presence here is a beacon for those factions. As if on cue, a high-pitched whine echoed through the forest, cutting through the ambient noise of rustling leaves and chirping insects. Kalara stiffened, her body language shifting from wary to outright alarm. They've arrived, she said. We need to hide. The two sprinted through the forest, weaving between ancient trees and ducking beneath low-hanging branches. The whine grew louder, accompanied by flashes of light that streaked across the night sky. Alex chanced a glance upward and saw a sleek, triangular craft hovering above the treetops. Its surface was matte black, almost invisible against the starry sky, but its sharp edges and glowing red underbelly exuded menace. What are we supposed to do against that? Alex hissed, his voice barely audible. Survive, Kalara replied, pulling him toward a thicket of dense foliage. They crouched low, her breathing steady despite their frantic pace. The ship slowed, its searchlights sweeping the forest floor. Alex held his breath, his heart hammering so loudly he was certain it would give them away. Beside him, Kalara pulled a small device from her belt. It resembled a sleek, crystalline shard, and it emitted a faint hum as she activated it. What is that? Alex whispered. A cloaking field, she said. It should mask our heat signatures, temporarily. Temporarily? Alex echoed, his voice tinged with panic. Kalara didn't respond. Her eyes were fixed on the ship above, which hovered ominously, its lights probing the forest. Moments stretched into eternity as they waited, neither daring to move. Just when Alex thought the ship might leave, a loud mechanical hiss shattered the silence. A hatch opened on the underside of the craft, and several humanoid figures descended on sleek, anti-gravity platforms. They wore armor that gleamed like polished obsidian, their movements precise and predatory. Each carried a weapon that looked disturbingly efficient. Kalara's grip on her device tightened. They're deploying ground units. This complicates things. You think? Alex whispered harshly. He swallowed hard, forcing himself to stay calm. What's the plan? Kalara's violet eyes flicked to him, a spark of determination in their depths. We split up. Split up? Alex said, incredulous. That's your plan? They're tracking me, she explained. If I draw them away, you'll have a chance to escape. Go back to your people. Warn them to stay away from this forest. Alex shook his head. No way. You won't stand a chance on your own. Kalara's lips curved into a faint, almost amused smile. I've survived worse. Before Alex could protest further, Kalara surged to her feet and darted away, her movements as silent as a shadow. The device in her hand emitted a faint pulse, and the hunters immediately shifted their attention toward her. They pursued her without hesitation, their platforms gliding soundlessly through the trees. Alex remained crouched, torn between relief and guilt. His instincts screamed at him to run, to put as much distance between himself and the hunters as possible. But something inside him refused to abandon her. This is such a bad idea, he muttered, rising to his feet. He scanned the area, his mind racing. If he couldn't fight the hunters head-on, maybe he could distract them. Spotting a fallen branch nearby, Alex grabbed it and swung it against a tree trunk, creating a loud, echoing crack. The nearest hunter paused, its helmeted head swiveling toward the sound. Over here. Alex shouted, adrenaline coursing through him. He bolted in the opposite direction, hoping to draw at least one of them away from Kalara. The hunter gave chase, its platform accelerating with alarming speed. Alex pushed himself harder, zigzagging through the trees and leaping over obstacles. The ground blurred beneath his feet as he focused solely on staying ahead. Kalara, meanwhile, led the remaining hunters on a perilous chase. She weaved through the forest with practiced ease, using her knowledge of terrain and strategy to stay just out of reach. But she knew she couldn't keep this up forever. Her injuries were slowing her down, and her energy reserves were dangerously low. Reaching a clearing, she paused to catch her breath. She pulled out another device from her belt, a spherical object that pulsed with a faint blue light. It was a last resort weapon, one that could incapacitate her pursuers but would leave her vulnerable. Before she could deploy it, a familiar voice called out from the trees. Kalara. She turned to see Alex running toward her, his face flushed and determined. What are you doing here? She demanded. I told you to escape. Yeah, well, I'm not great at following orders, he said, skidding to a stop beside her. What's the plan? Kalara stared at him for a moment, a mix of frustration and admiration flickering across her face. You're either very brave or very foolish. Let's go with brave, Alex said, grinning despite the situation. Now, tell me what that thing does. Kalara handed him the sphere, her expression serious. It's an EMP pulse. It will disable their platforms and weapons, but it has a short range. Alex nodded. Got it. Leave the rest to me. As the hunters closed in, Alex clutched the sphere tightly, ready to make his stand. Alex crouched low behind a fallen log, gripping the spherical EMP device Kalara had handed him. The hunters were closing in, their glowing platforms gliding soundlessly through the trees. Their silhouettes, sleek and ominous, moved with the precision of predators who had never known failure. This thing better work, Alex muttered under his breath. He glanced at Kalara, who was crouched nearby, her violet eyes scanning the forest for opportunities. Her breathing was steady, but Alex could see the strain of her injuries wearing on her. It will, Kalara said, her voice firm but quiet. Wait for them to group up. The pulse won't reach far. Any chance we can talk to them? Alex asked, half joking. Kalara's gaze hardened. They don't talk. They conquer. Alex swallowed hard. Right. No pressure. The lead hunter emerged first, its armor gleaming faintly in the moonlight. It stopped, scanning the area with a device that emitted a high-pitched whine. Another hunter joined it, then a third, their movements synchronized and methodical. They hadn't spotted Alex or Kalara yet, but it was only a matter of time. Kalara tapped Alex's shoulder and gestured toward a cluster of rocks a few meters away. He nodded, understanding her plan. If he could lure the hunters closer together, the EMP's blast radius would disable them all at once. Taking a deep breath, Alex picked up a nearby rock and hurled it toward the rocks. The loud clack echoed through the forest, drawing the hunters' attention. Their heads swiveled toward the sound, and Alex watched in tense silence as they moved toward the disturbance. Just a little closer, Alex thought, his fingers tightening around the EMP. Suddenly, one of the hunters stopped and turned in their direction. Its visor glowed crimson, and it raised an alien weapon that emitted a low hum. "They see us," Kalara hissed. "Now." Alex didn't hesitate. He pressed the device's activation button and lobbed it toward the hunters. The sphere emitted a piercing whine as it soared through the air, landing in the middle of the group. A second later, a blinding flash of blue light erupted from the device, accompanied by a deep, resonating boom. The hunters froze mid-movement, their platforms sputtering and their weapons falling silent. One by one, they toppled to the ground, their bodies stiff and lifeless. Alex let out a shaky laugh. "It worked. We got them." Kalara's expression remained tense. "Not all of them." Before Alex could respond, the roar of the hunter's ship filled the air. The triangular craft descended rapidly, its searchlights sweeping the forest floor. Alex's triumph turned to dread as the ship unleashed a new wave of drones, small, insect-like machines that buzzed ominously as they spread out in search of their prey. "Move!" Kalara shouted, pulling Alex to his feet. They sprinted through the forest, dodging trees and leaping over roots as the drones pursued them. The buzzing grew louder, and Alex glanced over his shoulder to see the mechanical swarm closing in. They moved like a single entity, each drone adjusting its trajectory with uncanny precision. "This just keeps getting better," Alex muttered, his lungs burning. Kalara veered sharply to the right, leading them toward a steep hill. "Keep running," she called out. "I'll cover you." Alex skidded to a halt. "No way. I'm not leaving you." Kalara spun around, her eyes blazing. "If you don't keep moving, we'll both die." Before Alex could argue, Kalara raised her arm and fired a beam of light from a device embedded in her wrist. The beam struck the lead drone, causing it to explode in a shower of sparks. The remaining drones hesitated for a fraction of a second before resuming their relentless pursuit. "Go!" Kalara shouted, firing again. Reluctantly, Alex turned and climbed the hill, his legs straining against the incline. At the top, he found a narrow crevice between two large boulders. He squeezed inside, the cool stone pressing against his back. From his vantage point, he could see Kalara holding her ground below, her movements quick and precise as she took out drone after drone. But it wasn't enough. The drones swarmed her, forcing her to retreat. Her shots grew less frequent, and Alex realized with horror that her weapon was losing power. "I can't just sit here," Alex muttered to himself. He scanned the area for anything he could use and spotted a large branch lying nearby. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. Grabbing the branch, Alex slid down the hill and charged into the fray. He swung wildly at the drones, smashing several to the ground. The improvised weapon was crude but effective, and the swarm thinned under their combined efforts. Kalara stared at him in disbelief. "You're insane." "Yeah, I get that a lot," Alex replied, swinging at another drone. Together, they fought off the remaining drones until the last one fell, its shattered body sparking faintly on the forest floor. Alex collapsed onto his knees, gasping for air. That was intense, he panted, looking over at Kalara. Are you okay? Kalara nodded, though her expression was grim. The ship will send reinforcements. We need to keep moving. Alex groaned but pushed himself to his feet. Lead the way, Scout. They trekked deeper into the forest, moving as quickly as Kalara's injuries would allow. The night was eerily silent now, the absence of the drones buzzing almost unsettling. Alex's mind raced with questions, but he knew better than to distract Kalara while they were still in danger. After what felt like hours, they reached a hidden clearing. In the center stood a tall, metallic structure that pulsed faintly with blue light. Kalara approached it and placed her hand against its surface. What is that? Alex asked. A beacon, Kalara replied. It will call for help. Help? From who? Kalara hesitated. Allies. They'll extract me, and ensure your world remains safe. Alex frowned. And what happens to me? Kalara turned to him, her expression softening. You'll be safe. They'll erase any trace of my presence here, including the hunters. And if they don't get here in time? Kalara didn't answer. Instead, she activated the beacon, which emitted a low hum that resonated through the clearing. Alex's stomach churned at the thought of what might come next. The beacon hummed steadily, its blue light casting an ethereal glow across the clearing. Alex and Kalara stood in tense silence, their breathing heavy from the battle. The forest seemed to hold its breath with them, the usual chorus of night sounds eerily absent. The sense of foreboding lingered, weighing on them both. How long before your allies show up? Alex asked, breaking the silence. Kalara glanced at the beacon, her expression unreadable. Hours. Maybe less. It depends on how far they are and whether they intercepted my distress signal earlier. Great, Alex muttered, pacing nervously. So we just sit here and hope they get to us before more hunters do. Kalara leaned against the metallic structure, her movements slow and deliberate. Her injuries were catching up to her, and Alex could see the exhaustion in her glowing violet eyes. We don't have another option, she said. The beacon has limited range. If we move too far from it, they won't find us. Alex sighed, running a hand through his hair. Okay. So what do we do in the meantime? Kalara's lips twitched into the faintest hint of a smile. We survive. Setting up a perimeter. Alex and Kalara set about fortifying the clearing as best they could. Alex scoured the forest for anything useful, branches, rocks, anything that could be turned into a makeshift weapon or barrier. Kalara, though visibly fatigued, used her advanced wrist device to scan the area, setting up rudimentary motion sensors that emitted soft pulses of light. As Alex piled up a ring of sharpened branches around the clearing, he glanced over at Kalara. So, these allies of yours, what are they like? More like you or more like the hunters? Kalara paused, her gaze distant. They're different. We're part of a coalition, a fragile alliance of species that value peace and cooperation. But even among allies, trust is rare. My mission was meant to build bridges, not burn them. Doesn't sound like it's going too well, Alex said, placing another branch into the barrier. Kalara's expression darkened. The hunters are opportunists. They don't care about diplomacy or alliances. They care about power, and they'll tear apart entire worlds to get it. Alex swallowed hard. And Earth just became a target because of you. Kalara flinched, but she didn't deny it. Yes. And for that, I am sorry. But I promise, if we make it through this, I'll do everything in my power to protect your world. Alex wanted to be angry, but something in her voice, a mix of guilt and determination, softened him. He nodded. Okay. But if we survive this, you owe me an explanation. A real one. Agreed, Kalara said. The calm before the storm. The hours dragged on. The tension in the air was palpable, every rustle of leaves or distant animal calls setting Alex's nerves on edge. Kalara spent most of the time monitoring her wrist device, occasionally glancing toward the beacon. Alex kept himself busy, pacing and fiddling with his makeshift weapons, though his mind churned with unanswered questions. Finally, Alex couldn't take the silence anymore. "Can I ask you something?" Kalara raised an eyebrow. "If it helps you stay calm, go ahead. How did you end up here? I mean, Earth's not exactly on the galactic map, right?" Kalara hesitated, as though weighing how much she should reveal. "I was scouting the outskirts of Coalition space when I picked up a strange signal. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but unique. I followed it, thinking it might be a lost artifact or a relic from an ancient civilization. And it led you here?" She nodded. "Yes. But I wasn't the only one who noticed it. The hunters intercepted me before I could analyze the source. They crippled my ship, and I crashed in your forest." Alex frowned. "Do you know what the signal was?" Kalara's eyes narrowed. "Not yet. But whatever it is, it's powerful enough to draw attention from across the stars. If the hunters get their hands on it, they could use it against us," Alex finished grimly. "The first wave." Their conversation was cut short by a sharp, mechanical whine that echoed through the forest. Alex froze, gripping one of his sharpened branches. Kalara tensed, her wrist device flashing red. "They're here," she said, her voice low. The undergrowth rustled, and Alex's heart raced as the first hunter stepped into the clearing. Its armor gleamed under the light of the beacon, and its glowing red visor locked onto them with an unblinking stare. Behind it, more hunters emerged, their movements precise and coordinated. "Great," Alex muttered. "More friends." Kalara didn't respond. She raised her wrist and fired a beam of energy at the nearest hunter. It staggered but didn't fall, its armor absorbing most of the impact. The other hunters spread out, their weapons trained on Alex and Kalara. "Stay behind the barrier," Kalara ordered, firing again. Alex ducked behind the ring of sharpened branches, clutching his makeshift spear. He watched as Kalara moved with practiced efficiency, her attacks keeping the hunters at bay. But it was clear she was running out of energy. One of the hunters broke through the barrier, its weapon raised. Alex reacted instinctively, lunging forward with his spear. The sharpened branch struck the hunter's chest, lodging between its armor plates. The hunter stumbled, its weapon clattering to the ground, but it didn't fall. "Oh, come on!" Alex shouted, pulling the branch free and jabbing again. This time, he aimed for the exposed joints in the hunter's limbs. The creature collapsed, sparking faintly as its systems failed. "Impressive," Kalara called out, her tone laced with approval. "But don't get cocky." A desperate stand. The fight intensified as more hunters poured into the clearing. Kalara's wrist device emitted a faint sputtering sound, signaling its dwindling power. Alex fought with everything he had, his makeshift weapons barely enough to fend off their relentless attackers. Just when it seemed they were overwhelmed, a blinding light erupted from the sky. Alex shielded his eyes as a massive ship descended, its sleek, silver surface gleaming under the moonlight. The hunters hesitated, their attention shifting toward the new arrival. Kalara's eyes widened in relief. "They're here." A ramp extended from the ship, and a group of alien soldiers emerged. Their armor was elegant and streamlined, their movements precise but less menacing than the hunters. They opened fire on the hunters, their weapons emitting beams of light that tore through the enemy ranks. Alex and Kalara retreated to the beacon as the two forces clashed. The coalition soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, quickly gaining the upper hand. Within minutes, the remaining hunters were either destroyed or retreating into the forest. A new hope. As the dust settled, one of the coalition soldiers approached Kalara, bowing slightly. "Scout Kalara, we received your signal. Are you injured?" "I'll manage," Clara replied, her voice steady despite her obvious exhaustion. She gestured toward Alex. "This is Alex Carter. He saved my life." The soldier turned to Alex, their expression unreadable behind their helmet. "You have our gratitude, human. Your bravery will not be forgotten." Alex scratched the back of his neck, feeling both awkward and proud. Thanks. Just doing what I could." Clara stepped closer to Alex, her gaze softening. "You should leave now. They'll erase any evidence of this battle, but it's better if you're not here when they do." Alex hesitated. "What about you?" Clara smiled faintly. "I'll be fine. And if we meet again, I'll owe you that explanation." Alex nodded, his chest tightening. "Take care of yourself, Clara." With one last glance, Alex turned and disappeared into the forest, leaving behind the clearing, and the alien woman who had forever changed his life. Alex didn't stop running until the faint hum of the coalition ship faded into the distance. The dense forest around him gradually began to resemble something familiar, the wilderness he thought he knew before this extraordinary night. Still, the silence wasn't comforting. It was heavy, laden with the knowledge that he had just stumbled into a reality far beyond his understanding. He finally slowed to a walk, his breathing labored. The weight of everything he had witnessed bore down on him. Aliens. Hunters. A galactic conflict playing out in his backyard. And Clara, the alien scout who had entrusted him with her survival. "Am I supposed to just forget about this?" Alex muttered to himself. "Because there's no way that's happening." A strange return. By the time Alex reached the edge of the forest, the first rays of dawn were peeking over the horizon. The familiar sight of his small, sleepy town came into view, but it felt different, smaller, less significant, like a child's drawing in the shadow of a masterpiece. As Alex trudged home, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, surprised to see a flurry of messages from his friends. "Dude, where are you? Are you alive? You were supposed to meet us hours ago. We're about to call the cops." Alex frowned. He had completely forgotten about his plans that evening. Quickly, he typed a response. "I'm fine. Got lost in the woods. Long story." The mundane interaction felt surreal after everything he'd just experienced, but it anchored him. He didn't want to drag anyone else into this, not yet. A new threat. Days passed. Alex went back to his routine, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. At first, he thought it was paranoia, a side effect of surviving an alien battle. But then the signs became clearer. Strange vehicles parked near his house. Flickers of movement in his peripheral vision. The quiet hum of something mechanical when he was alone in the woods. One evening, as he sat at his desk trying to focus on a video game, a loud knock echoed through his house. Alex froze. It was late, too late for visitors. His pulse quickened as he approached the door. Through the peephole, he saw two men in dark suits standing on his porch. Their expressions were unreadable, their presence exuding authority. Alex hesitated, debating whether to answer, but before he could decide, one of the men spoke. "Mr. Carter, we know you're in there. We'd like to have a word." Their voices were calm but carried an edge that made Alex's stomach churn. These weren't neighbors or friends. They were something else, something official. Alex opened the door a crack, keeping the chain latched. "Who are you?" The man closest to the door smiled faintly. "Agents Clark and Mason. We're with a government division that handles unusual events. We're here to talk about what you encountered in the forest." Alex's blood ran cold. "I don't know what you're talking about." Clark's smile didn't waver. "We both know that's not true. May we come in?" Alex shook his head. "I don't think that's a good idea." Mason, the second agent, stepped forward. "Mr. Carter, refusing to cooperate will only make things harder for you. We're not here to harm you. We're here to protect you, and the people of this town. Alex clenched his fists, his mind racing. He didn't trust these men, but they clearly weren't going to leave without answers. Reluctantly, he unlatched the chain and opened the door. The interrogation. The agents stepped inside, their movements measured and deliberate. Clark took a seat at the kitchen table, while Mason remained standing, his sharp eyes scanning the room. Clark gestured for Alex to sit. Relax. We just have a few questions. Alex reluctantly complied, his palms sweating. What do you want to know? Let's start with the basics, Clark said. We've been monitoring this area for unusual activity. We know something happened in the forest a few nights ago, and we know you were involved. Tell us what you saw. Alex hesitated, his instinct screaming at him to keep Kalara a secret. I don't know what you're talking about. I went for a hike and got lost. That's it. Clark sighed, his smile fading. Mr. Carter, we're not amateurs. We've already retrieved data from the crash site. We know you encountered someone, or something. Mason leaned closer. If you don't cooperate, we'll assume you're a threat. Do you want that? Alex's heart pounded. He felt trapped, cornered by forces he couldn't fight. But then he remembered Kalara's warning, they'll erase any evidence of my presence. Was this what she meant? Look, Alex said carefully, I don't know what you're looking for, but I'm not your guy. I didn't see anything unusual. The agents exchanged a glance. Clark leaned back, his expression unreadable. Very well, Mr. Carter. If that's your story, we won't press further, today. But I'd advise you to be honest in the future. For your sake. Without another word, the agents stood and left, their presence lingering like a storm cloud. Alex locked the door behind them, his hands trembling. He didn't know how much they knew, but one thing was clear, he was in their sights now. A warning from the stars. That night, Alex couldn't sleep. Every sound, every shadow set his nerves on edge. He couldn't shake the feeling that the agents, or worse, might return. As he lay staring at the ceiling, a faint, rhythmic tapping caught his attention. He sat up, his eyes scanning the room. The sound was coming from his window. Slowly, he approached and pulled back the curtain. Kalara stood outside, her silver skin glinting faintly in the moonlight. Alex threw open the window. What are you doing here? I thought you left. I did, Kalara said, her voice low. But I couldn't stay away. The hunters are regrouping, and your government is dangerously close to drawing their attention. You're not safe. No kidding, Alex muttered. 2 agents just interrogated me. Kalara's expression darkened. They're part of a shadow organization. They know about the Galactic factions, but their motives aren't noble. If they learn too much, they'll become a threat not just to Earth, but to the Coalition. Great, Alex said. So what do we do? Kalara's gaze softened. You've already risked so much. I won't ask more of you. But if you want to help, I need access to your government's data. If we can find out what they know, we might be able to stop the hunters before they strike again. Alex stared at her, his pulse quickening. You're asking me to spy on my own government? Kalara stepped closer, her violet eyes locking onto his. I'm asking you to protect your world. The gravity of Kalara's request hung in the air like a lead weight. Alex's first instinct was to refuse. Getting tangled up in alien politics and shadowy government conspiracies was the last thing he wanted. But then he thought of the hunters, the drones, and the agents in black suits. This wasn't just about him anymore. Alex clenched his fists. Okay. I'll help. But how am I supposed to get into a government database? I'm not exactly a hacker. Kalara tilted her head, her iridescent hair shimmering in the moonlight. I don't need you to hack it. I just need access to their communication hub. With the right connection, I can extract the data remotely. Alex frowned. And where is this hub? Kalara held up a small device that projected a holographic map of the town. A blinking marker lit up near the outskirts. Your government has a hidden facility here. The agents you encountered likely report to it. Alex's heart sank. You're telling me there's a secret base right in my backyard? Kalara nodded. Most humans remain unaware. But it's where they'll keep any information about alien activity, and you. Planning the infiltration. The next day, Alex and Kalara reconvened in an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town. Kalara had taken the time to conceal herself with a holographic disguise, her shimmering alien form replaced by the appearance of a pale, dark-haired woman in her late 20s. The technology amazed Alex, though it didn't entirely erase her otherworldly air. You're sure this place is the hub? Alex asked as he studied the holographic map Kalara had projected onto the floor. Yes, Kalara replied, pointing to a heavily guarded building surrounded by barbed wire and surveillance cameras. It matches the frequency of the agent's communication devices. Alex sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. So, what's the plan? Sneak in and hope we don't get caught? Kalara raised an eyebrow. Do you have a better idea? No, Alex admitted. But I'll probably regret this. Kalara handed him a small device resembling a sleek USB drive. This will link their systems to my database. All you have to do is plug it into their main console. I'll do the rest. Alex stared at the device. That sounds way too simple. It's not, Kalara said. The building will have multiple layers of security. Cameras, guards, likely biometric scanners. We'll need to move quickly and quietly. Alex glanced at her. I thought I was doing this alone. Kalara smiled faintly. I never said that. The break-in. Night fell, and Alex found himself crouched behind a row of bushes, the government facility looming ahead. Kalara knelt beside him, her holographic disguise blending seamlessly with the shadows. See those cameras? She whispered, pointing to a row of swiveling devices mounted on the building. They're motion-activated. If you move too quickly, they'll spot you. Got it, Alex replied, though his palms were sweating. He wasn't cut out for this kind of mission, but it was too late to back out now. Kalara tapped her wrist device, emitting a soft pulse that temporarily disabled the nearest camera. Go, she urged. Alex darted forward, keeping low as he sprinted toward the perimeter fence. He reached it just as the pulse faded and crouched in the shadows, his heart pounding. Kalara joined him moments later, her movements silent and precise. She pulled a small device from her belt and attached it to the fence. A faint hum filled the air as the device cut through the wires, creating a gap just large enough for them to slip through. They crept toward the building, avoiding pools of light cast by the overhead lamps. Alex's nerves were on edge, every rustle of leaves or distant sound making him flinch. When they reached the entrance, Kalara studied the keypad beside the door. It's encrypted, she murmured. Give me a moment. Alex kept watch as she worked, his pulse quickening when he spotted a patrol of armed guards approaching. Hurry, he whispered. Kalara's fingers flew across her wrist device, and the keypad emitted a soft beep as the door unlocked. She pushed it open, pulling Alex inside just as the guards rounded the corner. Inside the facility. The interior of the facility was cold and sterile, the walls lined with screens displaying data Alex couldn't begin to understand. Kalara led the way, her holographic disguise flickering faintly under the harsh fluorescent lights. This way, she whispered, gesturing toward a corridor. The main console should be in their control room. They moved quickly but carefully, avoiding the few guards patrolling the halls. Kalara's technology allowed them to bypass several locked doors, but Alex's nerves remained frayed. Every second felt like an eternity. Finally, they reached the control room. Kalara peeked inside, then motioned for Alex to follow. The room was empty, its walls lined with monitors and servers humming softly. Alex approached the main console, his hands shaking as he inserted the USB device. "Now what?" he asked. Kalara tapped her wrist device. "I'm linking to their system. Keep an eye on the door." As Alex stood guard, Kalara's eyes glowed faintly, her focus intense as she worked. The seconds stretched into minutes, and Alex's anxiety grew with each passing moment. "Almost there," Kalara murmured. "I'm accessing their files on extraterrestrial activity." A grim revelation. Kalara's expression darkened as she scanned the data. "This is worse than I thought." "What do you mean?" Alex asked, glancing back at her. "They're not just monitoring alien activity," Kalara said. "They're experimenting with reverse engineering alien technology. If they succeed, they'll destabilize the entire coalition." Alex's stomach churned. "And the hunters?" Kalara's voice was grim. "The hunters aren't just opportunists, they're working with your government. They've traded advanced technology for access to Earth's resources." Before Alex could respond, an alarm blared, red lights flashing throughout the facility. "They found us," Kalara said, her voice urgent. "We need to go, now." The escape. Kalara grabbed the USB device, her wrist device emitting a pulse that temporarily disabled the alarm. They bolted from the control room, but the sound of boots pounding against the floor told Alex that guards were closing in. "Over here!" Kalara shouted, leading Alex toward a maintenance tunnel. They ducked inside, the narrow space forcing them to move single file. The tunnel led to an emergency exit, but as they emerged into the open air, a squad of guards surrounded them, weapons raised. "Stay where you are," one of the guards barked. Kalara raised her hands, but Alex noticed the faint glow of her wrist device. She was preparing something. "Duck," she shouted. Alex dropped to the ground as Kalara unleashed a blinding pulse of energy. The guards were thrown back, their weapons sparking as they hit the ground. "Run!" Kalara yelled. They sprinted into the forest, the sounds of pursuit fading as they put distance between themselves and the facility. When they finally stopped, both of them were gasping for air. Kalara looked at Alex, her expression resolute. "We have the data. Now we fight back." Alex leaned against a tree, his chest heaving as he tried to catch his breath. Kalara stood a few feet away, her violet eyes scanning the surrounding forest. The faint glow of her wrist device lit up her features, her expression grim. "That was too close," Alex muttered. "Way too close." Kalara didn't reply immediately. She tapped her wrist device, and a holographic interface appeared, displaying the stolen data from the government's facility. Lines of alien script and human text scrolled across the screen, detailing plans, communications, and weapon schematics. "What are you seeing?" Alex asked, stepping closer. Kalara's voice was tight. "Confirmation. Your government isn't just collaborating with the hunters, they're trying to weaponize alien technology. They've reverse-engineered parts of my ship and are testing advanced energy weapons." Alex's stomach churned. "Why? What do they gain from working with the hunters?" Kalara pointed to a section of the data. "Earth's leaders believe they're bargaining for a position of power in the galaxy. But the hunters aren't allies, they're manipulators. Once they extract what they need from your world, they'll leave it in ruins." Alex rubbed his temples, the enormity of the situation sinking in. "So what do we do? We can't take on the government and the hunters by ourselves." Kalara closed the hologram and turned to him. "We don't have to. The coalition will help, but only if I can transmit this data to them." Alex frowned. "And where do we do that? It's not like we can just hop on Wi-Fi." Kalara's lips curved into a faint smile. "My people left a relay station in this region centuries ago. It's hidden, but it should still be functional. If we can reach it, I can send the data and call for reinforcements. Let me guess, Alex said. The hunters know about this relay station, too. Kalara nodded. They'll try to stop us. The journey to the relay station. The forest stretched endlessly before them, a labyrinth of trees and undergrowth that grew darker with each passing hour. Kalara led the way, her movements fluid despite the injuries she had sustained. Alex followed close behind, clutching a makeshift weapon, a sturdy branch sharpened at one end. So, Alex said, trying to lighten the mood, what happens if we can't reach this relay station? Kalara glanced back at him. We don't have that option. Right, Alex muttered. Very comforting. As they pushed deeper into the wilderness, the air grew colder, and a low mist began to settle over the ground. The sounds of the forest, the chirping of insects, the rustling of leaves, were conspicuously absent, replaced by an eerie silence. Alex shivered. Is it just me, or does this feel like a trap? Kalara's wrist device emitted a soft beep. She froze, raising a hand to stop Alex. It's not just you, she said quietly. They're here. An ambush in the mist. The mist thickened, obscuring their surroundings. Shadows flitted through the trees, moving too quickly for Alex to focus on them. He gripped his spear tightly, his heart hammering in his chest. A sudden burst of light pierced the fog, and a hunter stepped into view, its crimson visor glowing menacingly. It raised its weapon, a sleek rifle that hummed with energy. Get down! Kalara shouted, pulling Alex to the ground just as the hunter fired. The blast tore through the air, leaving a scorched mark on a nearby tree. Kalara rolled to her feet, her wrist device glowing as she fired a concentrated beam of energy at the hunter. The blast struck its armor, staggering it but not taking it down. Alex, move, she yelled. Alex scrambled to his feet, narrowly avoiding another energy blast. He darted behind a tree, his mind racing. He wasn't a soldier, but he couldn't just stand by while Kalara fought alone. As another hunter emerged from the mist, Alex charged forward, thrusting his spear at its exposed joints. The weapon struck true, and the hunter collapsed with a shower of sparks. Not bad, Kalara said, her voice tight as she took down another enemy. The two of them fought side by side, their movements instinctively coordinated. Despite the odds, they managed to hold their ground, the hunters falling one by one. Reaching the relay station. After what felt like an eternity, the last hunter fell. Alex and Kalara stood amidst the wreckage, their breathing heavy. The mist began to clear, revealing a hidden structure nestled between the trees. The relay station was ancient, its surface covered in moss and vines. Despite its age, it pulsed faintly with blue light, a testament to its advanced construction. We made it, Alex said, his voice filled with relief. Kalara approached the station, her expression guarded. Stay alert. The hunters may have sent reinforcements. She placed her hand on the station's surface, and a panel slid open, revealing a complex interface. Kalara began inputting commands, her wrist device syncing with the station's systems. What happens now? Alex asked. I'm transmitting the data, Kalara replied. Once it's sent, the coalition will know everything, the hunters' plans, the government's involvement, and Earth's potential role in the conflict. And then what? Alex pressed. Do they come here? Do they fight? Kalara hesitated. That depends. If Earth's leaders cooperate, the coalition can offer protection. But if they resist, it could lead to conflict. Alex's stomach turned. So we might have just started a war. Kalara met his gaze. If we didn't act, Earth would have been conquered without a fight. At least now, your people have a chance. A final battle. Before Kalara could finish the transmission, a low rumble shook the ground. Alex turned to see a massive hunter ship descending through the trees, its sleek, triangular form bristling with weaponry. They're not giving up, Kalara said, her voice calm but tense. I need a few more minutes to complete the upload. Minutes we don't have, Alex said, grabbing his spear. The ship deployed a squad of hunters, their weapons trained on the relay station. Alex and Kalara exchanged a glance, an unspoken agreement passing between them. I'll hold them off, Alex said. You finish the upload. Kalara hesitated. Alex. Go, he shouted, charging toward the hunters. Alex fought with everything he had, using the terrain to his advantage. He dodged energy blasts, striking at the hunters with calculated precision. For every enemy he took down, another seemed to take its place, but he refused to back down. Kalara worked furiously at the relay station, her focus unshaken despite the chaos around her. The interface emitted a soft chime, signaling the completion of the upload. It's done, she shouted. The coalition is on its way. Alex turned to respond, but a blast struck the ground near him, throwing him off his feet. He landed hard, the air knocked from his lungs. Kalara rushed to his side, helping him to his feet. We need to move. Now. The coalition arrives. Before the hunters could press their advantage, a brilliant light filled the sky. A massive coalition ship descended, its sleek, silver form radiating power. Energy beams rained down from the ship, obliterating the hunter forces in seconds. Kalara and Alex watched in awe as a squad of coalition soldiers emerged, their movements precise and efficient. One of them approached Kalara, bowing slightly. Scout Kalara, the transmission was received. Reinforcements are here. Kalara nodded, her expression relieved. Thank you. Secure the area and prepare for extraction. The soldier turned to Alex, his gaze sharp but respectful. Human, your bravery will be reported to the coalition. You've earned our gratitude. Alex nodded, too exhausted to respond. He turned to Kalara. So, what happens now? Kalara smiled faintly. Now, Earth has a chance. The forest was eerily quiet after the chaos of battle. Alex stood next to Kalara, watching as the coalition forces secured the area. The sleek, silver soldiers moved with precision, scanning the fallen hunters and dismantling their weapons. The coalition ship hovered above, its lights illuminating the clearing. Alex felt a strange mix of relief and unease. The immediate threat was gone, but the implications of everything that had happened weighed heavily on him. Kalara, her holographic disguise still active, glanced at him with her violet eyes filled with an unspoken gratitude. You did well, she said softly. Alex managed a tired smile. I mostly just got lucky. Those hunters didn't seem to agree with my life expectancy. Kalara's lips twitched in amusement, but her expression quickly turned serious. Luck or not, your courage made this possible. Without you, Earth would have been defenseless. The coalition's proposal. As the last hunter ship was dismantled, a high-ranking coalition officer approached Kalara and Alex. His armor was more elaborate than the others, with glowing blue accents that pulsed faintly. He introduced himself as Commander Altris, his tone respectful but commanding. Scout Kalara, Altris began, nodding to her. Your mission was more perilous than anticipated, but you've succeeded. The coalition will act swiftly to neutralize the hunter threat in this sector. Kalara inclined her head. Thank you, Commander. But Earth's situation is precarious. Their government is already entangled with the hunters. If we don't act carefully, this planet could spiral into chaos. Altris turned his piercing gaze to Alex. Human, you've seen the danger firsthand. The coalition seeks to protect emerging worlds like yours, but your leaders must choose cooperation over conflict. We cannot force them. Alex crossed his arms, frustration bubbling to the surface. You don't know Earth's leaders. They'll see you as a threat, not allies. And if they're already working with the hunters. Altris raised a hand to silence him. Which is why we must tread carefully. Scout Kalara has suggested that you, Alex Carter, act as an intermediary. Me? Alex blinked in disbelief. Why me? You've proven your loyalty to your people and your bravery in the face of danger, Altris replied. And you've gained Kalara's trust, a rare feat. Kalara nodded. You understand both worlds now, Alex. That makes you uniquely qualified to bridge the gap between Earth and the Coalition. Alex hesitated, the enormity of the responsibility sinking in. I'm just a guy from a small town. I'm not a diplomat or a hero. You're more than that, Kalara said, her voice gentle but firm. You've already proven it. A difficult decision. As the Coalition forces prepared to leave, Kalara and Alex walked a short distance from the clearing, seeking a moment of privacy. The forest, now bathed in moonlight, felt strangely peaceful despite the events that had transpired. So, what happens if I say no? Alex asked. Kalara regarded him thoughtfully. The Coalition will still try to protect Earth, but without someone to mediate, the risk of conflict increases. Your government might see us as invaders, and the hunters could exploit that fear. And if I say yes? Alex pressed. Kalara's gaze softened. Then you become a bridge between our worlds. It won't be easy, but it could save lives, your people's and mine. Alex ran a hand through his hair, his thoughts a whirlwind. He had never imagined his life would take such a turn. A few days ago, he had been an ordinary guy. Now, he was being asked to shape the fate of his planet. I don't know if I'm ready for this, he admitted. Kalara smiled faintly. No one ever is. But sometimes, the right choice is the one that scares you the most. Farewell and resolve. When the Coalition forces finished their operations, the forest clearing was unrecognizable. The fallen hunters and their technology were gone, erased as if they had never been there. The Coalition ship began to rise, its sleek form blending into the starry sky. Kalara turned to Alex, her expression unreadable. I must go with them, she said. My mission here is complete, but my work with the Coalition continues. Alex felt a pang of sadness. Despite the short time they had known each other, Kalara had become a friend, someone he trusted in a way he hadn't trusted anyone before. Will I ever see you again? He asked. Kalara hesitated, then placed a hand on his shoulder. I don't know. But if I can, I will. She handed him a small device, no larger than a coin. This will allow you to contact me if the need arises. Use it wisely. Alex nodded, slipping the device into his pocket. Take care of yourself, Kalara. And you, she replied, her voice softer. You've already done more than most would. Don't doubt your strength. With one last glance, Kalara stepped onto the Coalition ship. Alex watched as it ascended, its lights fading into the night sky. The first steps. The days that followed were surreal. The agents who had interrogated Alex never returned, and the town seemed blissfully unaware of the galactic drama that had unfolded nearby. Alex tried to return to his normal routine, but the experience had changed him. He spent hours researching Earth's political landscape, learning about the factions and leaders who might shape the planet's future. He also began crafting a plan, a way to introduce the Coalition's presence to the world without sparking fear or hostility. One evening, as he sat at his desk, the small device Kalara had given him emitted a soft chime. Alex picked it up, his heart racing. Alex, Kalara's voice said, clear and steady. The Coalition has received your message. Reinforcements are en route to monitor Earth's situation. Be ready. I will be, Alex replied. And Kalara, thank you. For what? For trusting me. A new beginning. Alex stood on the edge of the forest, gazing at the stars. Somewhere out there, Kalara was continuing her mission, fighting to protect worlds like his. He felt a sense of purpose he had never known before, a determination to ensure Earth's place among the stars. For now, he was just one person. But he knew that even one person could make a difference. And as long as he had the courage to try, the future remained full of possibilities. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. For more exciting HFY stories. Your support means the world to us. And make sure to tap the bell icon, so you never miss an update. Stay tuned for our next adventure, and until then, keep exploring the stars. See you in the next video.